Hey everyone, here are 10 best fighters in Game of Thrones. Number 10, Jaime Lannister. I'm sure some people will be surprised that Jaime Lannister is this low on the list. He's this low on the list for some reason. One, we don't see him in a lot of one-on-one fights. We only hear of his greatness through some other characters, but we don't see him fight in one-on-one fights. We see him fight in some one-on-one fights, maybe just like two or three. And of those three, he drew one and he lost one. So like he doesn't show his prowess as a great fighter in those scenes. Plus, he lost his fighting hand. So he automatically became a lesser warrior because of those instances. And that is why Jaime Lannister is number 10 on this list. Number 9, Sandor Clegane, aka The Hound. Honestly, I believe the Hound is one of the best fighters in the world of Westeros because he fights in a lot of battles and he almost always comes out on top. And that's one thing that just puts him ahead of a lot of fighters. He's one of those fighters that if you are coming to fight against him, you have to come into your game because this guy can just split you in half. He can just destroy you in one fell swoop. And it's something that just makes the Hound a very, very good fighter. He's on number 9 because he has fought with some characters and lost. And I feel like there are still some other characters that are much better fighters than him, even though he's a very good fighter. Number 8, Arya Stark. If Arya Stark is not on this list, it's going to be a great crime because we follow Arya Stark from when she was young to growing and becoming one of the best fighters. The fact that we see her training and becoming a much more badass fighter as the story went on was something that just made me appreciate her character so much. Like from a very tender age, she has always wanted to be a warrior and she was working and working and working towards getting to that place. And by the end of the series, she has become one of the best fighters in the whole of Game of Thrones. I mean, she's sparred with Brienne, and when she sparred with Brienne, like Brienne herself was like, "Whoa, this girl is a badass." And Brienne is also a badass fighter. And for Brienne to be able to recognize that Arya is one hell of a fighter was something that just made me appreciate her fighting skills so much. Number 7, Oberyn Martell. Although we only see Oberyn Martell in one particular fight, that fight was one hell of a fight. It was a fight that a lot of people didn't even think would have gone the way it went. This guy fought with the mountain, and the way he fought the mountain was like, yo, I'm sure I would have even won that fight if he didn't get too cocky and was just questioning and questioning. If he had just killed the character straight up, he would have won that fight. The odds against him in that fight were incredible. Imagine fighting someone like the mountain. Like this guy's a literal mountain. They call him the mountain for a reason. Fighting the mountain, this little man fighting the mountain, and he fucking brought the mountain down, laying on his back. Like, yo, that was so impressive. Even though that was the one fight we saw him in, and he lost the fight, it was still a very, very impressive fight. And Oberyn is one hell of a fighter. Number 6, Barristan Selmy, aka Barristan the Bold. They say fear an old man in a profession where men die young, and Barristan Selmy is an old man in a profession where men die young. This man is one of the oldest fighters in Game of Thrones for good reason. I mean, he's always fighting. He was a king's guard to 2 kings and a queen's guard also. You can't be a king's guard without facing multiple challenges, and this man faced so much challenges and defeated so many people. We saw some of them, but we didn't see most of them because we met him at his old age. But in his young age and the things we've heard of him, he defeated so many people. Jaime Lannister even called him a painter, a painter who only used red. And it is honestly true. And since that we've seen Barristan fought him, this man displayed incredible prowess, and he fought so well until his old age. And that is why Barristan had to be so high on this list. Number 5, Brienne of Tarth. If Brienne of Tarth is not on this list, it's a complete injustice. Brienne of Tarth is honestly one of the best fighters in the world of Game of Thrones, and definitely the best female warrior in the world of Thrones. Brienne fought with so many people, fought with so many men. In this world, there is men that are always ruling. She fought with so many men and she defeated them. She fought with the Hound, the freaking Hound, and she beat him. Whoa! If that is not impressive, I don't know what is. She fought with so many people. She survived so much, and she was still standing at the end of the show. Brienne is one hell of a fighter, and honestly, she could have even been high on this list. But I still see some other people that are better than her that could have beaten her if they came in contact with her. But nonetheless, Brienne is one hell of a fighter. Number 4, Jorah Mormont, aka the Lord of the Friend Zone. Yes, he's the Lord of the Friend Zone. Daenerys friend zoned him so hard. But that's not what I came here to talk about. I came here to talk about his fighting prowess, and his fighting prowess is incredible. He's also an old man in a profession where men die young. That should tell you something about him. We see him fight with so many people. We see him fight with Dothraki. We see him fight with Sellswords. We've seen him fight with so many people, and he always came out on top. Although he had some elements of luck fighting, but nonetheless, he can't be always that lucky. But he came out on top in almost every fight that he fought. And man, Jorah is one hell of a fighter. And the scene where he was protecting his queen when he was stabbed with so many swords, stabbed so many times, and still protected his queen up to the end, is another thing that just elevates Jorah to one hell of a great fighter. Number 3, Grey Worm. Of all the characters on this list, Grey Worm is my favorite. Grey Worm is the leader of the Unsullied, and I freaking love those Unsullied. And I love Grey Worm so much more. He's such a soldier, he's such a badass fighter. He does not have any fear. Like, it is incredible when you see a fighter that does not have fear. He fights with so many people and he always comes out on top. And the fact that he uses a spear, the way he can maneuver with spears in tight corners is something that just blows my mind. This guy fights so well. I think he's one of the best fighters in this show, honestly, but there's some people ahead of him. I feel like Grey Worm can face any of the fighters in Game of Thrones. Even if he doesn't win, they are not going to defeat him easily. Grey Worm is such a badass fighter and honestly deserves to be on this list and on this spot. Number 2, Jon Snow. Jon Snow could have been lower on this list, but I feel like he deserves to be on this spot because of all the people on this list, Jon Snow is one of these people that will be see constantly fighting. Jon Snow fights so much. He fights wildlings, he fights White Walkers, he fought his brothers, he fought so many people, like always fighting. And the fact that he always comes out on top in all those fights and that thing just blows my mind. Like, this guy could have died so many times, although he died once upon a time, but still, he didn't die fighting. He fought so many times, and man, he always came out on top. And honestly, that's something that makes Jon Snow one of the best fighters in Game of Thrones. Number 1, drum roll. Bada 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 bada. Bash. Khal Drogo. Could I have made this list without putting Khal Drogo on it? Impossible. Khal Drogo is one of those people that never ever gets defeated. All the characters in this list, they get defeated at some point, but never ever Khal Drogo. Khal Drogo fought with so many people. Like, we didn't see him fight with so many people, but the people he fought with and his reputation, he never ever lost a fight. He's the only one on this list that never ever lost a fight, and that is so impressive. Like, even though he died from an injury he sustained in a fight, but still he didn't lose that fight. He's one of the best fighters in Game of Thrones, and the scenes where we see him fighting, the one scene where we see him really fighting, like, he was so badass in that scene. He was such a badass in that fight. This guy did not even use weapon. He dropped his weapon and he went hand to hand against someone that was using a weapon, and he fucking killed that person. Man, I'm sure if Khal Drogo did not die from his injury and we got to see him more, he would have fought with so many people and he would have killed so many people. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but still, he had to be number 1 on this list. So those are 10 best Game of Thrones fighters. Which other fighters in Game of Thrones do you think should have been on this list? Or what are your own top 10 fighters in Game of Thrones? Comment below and let me know. If you watch this video up until this time, please like, share, follow, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Vala Mugulis.